going to be putting headers on my 1998 Lexus GS400, which has been supercharged, manual swapped, limited slip diff, all that stuff. Now, if you skipped ahead to this video, I highly encourage you to go back to the first video so you can see how to get your old headers off, how to get your new headers coated, all of those important things. Let's take a quick look at some of the parts and special tools that you'll need besides a mechanic's tool set. Right here we have a 1/2 inch long extension to a 3/8 adapter to a 3/8 pivot to a 14mm socket. It's obviously a deep one. These are highly recommended in addition to a mechanic's tool set to getting access to the very difficult nut, which is on each side of the headers or manifolds. I actually inherited these, and this will help you tighten or loosen, depending on what you're doing, the difficult to reach nut on each side of each head. I am going to also go with ultra copper for headers in addition to new multi-layer steel gaskets, OEM of course. Then we have OEM cat gaskets here, and I'll put all these part numbers in the video description. Also, these are replacement studs. I haven't needed them so far, but it's good to have them on hand. There's a couple drain plug gaskets in there. I didn't put the gasket on or anything yet. There's a lot of discussion about this hitting or getting in the way of this with the OBX headers. But we're gonna find out, aren't we? This heat shield needs to come off. Use this bad boy. I knew I had it for a reason, and hopefully pull the whole thing off, but these, see how these were setting in there? Look at that. All I'm doing now is wiping down the head with acetone, just for gasket mating purposes. I don't think it's entirely necessary, but I really don't want to do this ever again. 1UZ VVTi is the 50021 part number, which is the larger hole. There is a shiny side and there is a dark side. The shiny side goes towards the head, so make sure that these two, which are the same part number for my particular car, make sure that your shiny side is going towards the head. If you have a 1UZ non-VVTi, it's a 50011 part number, which is a smaller hole. Got that gasket maker on the other side. I'm not gonna press this on, I'm just gonna get it up and around and hook it. And I'm gonna hope that it stays on without touching the head. This is gonna be the tricky part. The very first thing you've got to do, if you can see my finger wiggling up here, you've got to get that nut on first, because otherwise you will not be able to get that nut on at all. You can see my wrench? I had to keep doing this, switching it around like that. That is a pain right there. Just gonna go finger tight. They are all on. You're gonna have to trust me on this because it's hard to see. I have to wait an hour for this gasket maker to set, and then you torque after the gasket maker sets. You're gonna need some dexterity, no gloves. You're gonna have to do it all by feel and a limited eyesight. The torque value on the 1UZ VVTi, I believe, is 33 foot-pounds. I'm not gonna be able to torque some of these with a torque wrench. At least I know generally what it's going to be. And you wanna do a good distribution of tightening. Don't just reef on like all the top ones. Go back and forth, and I would start from the middle and work your way out. I'll spare you with my struggles of getting up in there and torquing it down to 33 foot-pounds. But rest assured, I'm gonna do my best at a top one, work my way to bottom, top, bottom, and then work my way out from there. If you bend this heat shield a little bit here, which is for your oxygen sensor and stuff, if you bend that, make sure you feel around and ensure that it's not contacting the headers, because you don't want to rattle. So I did bend it back. Bending it a little bit actually helped with tightening that one slotted position under there. So everything is torqued on this side. Good to go. We did the driver's side first. We're gonna put the dipstick back in. I'll have the part number in the video description. You're gonna need that bolt back for the bracket, and it should be a lot easier to install. All right, I'm gonna go set it on the passenger side head now. I don't know which side's worse, They're both pretty bad, honestly. You can see the tools that I've utilized to try to make this happen. I mentioned that earlier, but I've also used this long 14 ratcheting. I use that quite a bit on the passenger side. And then I used a torque wrench where I could, 14 ratcheting, a normal sized one. So there you go. It's a little bit dirty from my dirty hands. I'm like covered in grease and I needed the dexterity. I didn't wear gloves. Don't forget your sensors on each side. Go through and double check everything. Make sure that it's time to safely get your subframe raised back up. Subframe is torqued. The motor mounts are torqued. Haven't put the covers on those yet, but I will. All right, new gaskets on both sides of the cat. Part numbers in the video description. This thing is a pain. As you raise the rack up, wiggle that female end, and I have vice grips on the male end up there. It flexes back inside the firewall, and so you can't get it to line up with the teeth. This is the way that worked for me. Now I got to get those vice grips off. Add these bolts here to hold the rack back in place. This steering knuckle right here, where my finger is, was hitting the header. It was rubbing. Nothing too bad, but it was rubbing. I loosened the motor mounts. I loosened the trans mounts. And I put a huge screwdriver up in there with everything loose. And I pried the whole drivetrain over to the right a little bit. And then I ran the motor mounts in. And it worked. I sprayed unburned fuel all over the EP3. Oh, look at this. The sound is very similar to the OEM manifolds so far. I haven't revved it out yet. Oh, it feels pretty good. Wow. That dipped into the 10s on AFR, so I feel like I can lean it out a touch. But I also had the negative pulled off, and that resets the trims. I do need to let this thing kind of get used to the new flow before I start making some drastic changes to my AFRs. a big difference between 4000 and Redline. That's where they really shine, and I can feel it. The sound difference isn't much, but there's quite a few pops and bangs that weren't there before. Little ones, kind of muffled ones, since I still run my cats and my modified full exhaust. Headers are pretty cool, and I need to street tune it, but I've gotten to rip on it quite a bit here, and it really slides the rear tires out. But I gotta watch it. We're in kind of a residential area here. Sound-wise, definitely about a 10% difference. Went for a drive, 66 degrees Fahrenheit ambient temperature. I'm gonna go ahead and open up the hood, and I'm gonna use a laser temperature shooter to see what the jet hot ceramic coated headers are sitting at right now with a little bit of heat soak on them.